Okay, we are live. This is a random, spontaneous episode on pyramids and the pyramids of the world and the missing cultures that built them, as well as, see some of these pyramids could have been built by the local cultures later or more recently compared to the grand pyramids that are missing the original builders of, the Giza pyramids, for instance. Um, all of Egypt's essentially whatever lays underneath the ruins of the sand dunes, and not just Giza and all of the mysteries and advanced mathematics and building engineering, and just the ridiculousness of how advanced just the Giza pyramids are. For instance, yet alone the missing pyramids of Egypt, the hundreds of pyramids that are within Egypt itself, then the Nubian pyramids behind or up the Nile from Giza and from the Giza Plateau and all the main pyramids. Oh, welcome, Chris. Good day, good day. And then the fact that there's pyramids all around the world and similar architecture everywhere, but Teotihuacan, for instance, being a pretty big one in Mexico City, that definitely is on the same level as Egypt. And then, you get into all of Mexico, but then Asia as well. Indonesia being a big one that we'll be getting into today with Arthur Faram, the Faram Foundation research. We'll be doing more of that, of course. But then also the Bosnian pyramids as well. Also, both in the Faram Foundation research, but all in the overall more advanced, lost, ancient civilization that built these pyramids, the original pyramid civilization, the original pyramid builders. And that obviously after the fall of that original civilization, the loss of whether it was Lemuria or Atlantis, whatever was before the Younger Dryas event, that the all around the world they were building these super advanced pyramid mega structures, right? This macro engineering on just such epic proportions. This being a aerial shot of Teotihuacan in Mexico City. That's the pyramid of this. Actually, I think that might be the pyramid of the moon or the pyramid of the Earth dragon. I forget what the other one, the third one is there, but there's they uncovered those, and there we go. There's the pyramid of the sun. Maybe it was. I'm not sure. Could have been from a different angle, but no, these are little ones. That's right. That the big one I think is actually down. Further down this road. It's just huge. And then all throughout the rainforests, the Amazon, throughout the way from Mexico, but not just Mexico, because it's also all throughout the U.S. what they call the mounds. And shout out to Shem, Tartarian Truth, who inspired this episode today out of me. And I'll play his most recent 1 hour live stream on pyramids coming up here in about 10-20 minutes after I go through some of the pictures that I have first, and then we'll describe some more. But the fact that Teotihuacan in Mexico City, when it was first found by the Westerners, it was mounds. It was covered in dirt and it was covered in mounds, and it looked completely different to this and what was eventually dug out of these mounds and reclaimed. and that it was stated that there was mica covering this entire pyramid, and that the Mexican government sold it after they had taken all the dirt off, and that the mounds across all of America and Canada too, that throughout the world, in fact, and in Shem's episode that I'm going to play here, actually, I might actually just start out with that and let things get going through there, because he just brings out so much good information, and he plays some of Chuck's videos as well on these Chinese pyramids specifically, and how, you know, they're mounds and that they seem like mounds, or they're called pyramids, but then the Chinese government's covering them up with dirt and trees and everything and trying to make them into mounds, like the US government land claims that they're just mounds, they're not pyramids. But in fact, when you uncover them and you take all the soil and reclaim them, they are in fact all pyramids. And that, so we'll start off with Shem's video here, and it has, oh, good morning, Gerald. Good day, brother. And Gerald, shout out WPG Enlightened for Truth 2 channel has, oh, we're both going to prove that, Gerald. I'm going to go to Drumheller and prove that there's a whole bunch there, as well as, well, all over Alberta, really. And shout out Tranquil Vortex in Australia. There's pyramids in Australia, too. Stephen A., good day. The fourth Wiseman, hello. Yeah, right. Monkeys built them, right? We've just evolved from what's these just fantastical, oops, getting into alchemy there. Here we go. Back to the pyramids and pyramid alchemy that we're covering today. That they are just so advanced, and that, oh, we're calling them King's Chamber, Queen's Chamber. No, that's technology. They're resonant chambers. There's advanced engineering behind all of this, and that these were machines. And then there's such, you know, these brick pyramids, the more recent ones, that it's like they were the locals trying to imitate the gods, or trying to imitate this lost advanced macro structures technology and macro engineering. And what they called imitating the gods. And yes, so in Drumheller, Alberta, there's mounds in everybody's backyard, and they're not acknowledged as such, but I'm going to go there this summer. We're going to prove that they're pyramids. And Drumheller is world famous for the Royal Tyrrell Dinosaur Museum that is in there. And I've, you know, there's my pterodactyl experience, or whatever the heck that dragon thing was flying over. See, every time I get the quiver, I get the shake, remembering being prey. Anyway, but point being, there's pyramids in Drumheller. We're gonna prove it. And you know, some of them, there's legends that there's buried giant people beneath some of them, and then there's some that are just straight technology, and they're from this lost civilization. And here we go, the Bosnian pyramids, crucial. Sam Osmanovich's work, Dr. Sam, and how he's uncovered mountain pyramids. You know, they're mountain mounds, but no, they're actually pyramids, and that's what they look like, the structures underneath here, once you remove the soil from them and the trees. Oh dear, back to alchemy. Here we go. So we'll leave off with that one there, and we will get back. We'll start off by playing Shem's excellent pyramid episode that he did on his new channel, Shem Jacobs, earlier yesterday, I guess. And it just covers so much crucial stuff. And he also plays Chuck's, RIP Chuck, but CP Apps channel that's just epic, and all the work that he's done on the Asian pyramids and all the pyramids of the world, really. So I guess I'll just play this in full, and the Link for this is in the description. Make sure you go subscribe to Shem's channel. Morning, Jeremiah and Joe, both in the chat. And boys, are going to confirm it's Friday, so tonight we will do a Real Science Year of the Coil. I'm inspired with Year of the Coil right now, as I've started building some more coils, different ones. This one actually has ferrite and copper coils, triple solenoid, quadruple solenoid actually within the main coil aspect of this. Doing some more wire wrap coil making. So we're going to do Year of the Coil tonight. Hopefully both Gerald here, WPG, Enlightened for Truth 2, as well as Jeremiah Pop join the technicians. Aka Exotic Pulsion, are both in for it tonight. Oh wow, it's got us at 33 total viewers. Illuminati confirmed yet again. Simulacre, hope you are well. Mount Cleese, yes, it is definitely. 100%. We're going to have to do an episode strictly on that. Mount Kalish for sure. Michael Joshua Lewis, welcome, brother. The Land of Kim channel shows you how they work. Excellent. I will have to give that a check out. I believe that there's all sorts of different pyramids for different, each one has different technology or purposes within it. And we will be going into both Ferrum Foundation as well as Samo Zvonimich's work on the Bosnian pyramids after I play Shem's stream here. And yeah, the Red Pyramid, 100% Fourth Wiseman, like the sarcophagus, but it's like calf embryo, right? Like they just put something in there. It's a joke. And then we have, yeah, I seen that. I just saw that as well. Shout out, I am Kairos. I saw that too. The Starfort Pyramid episode he just did. Oi, Brian Evans, good to see you. Gotta be Illuminati confirmed. Juan Truth, welcome. Tranquil Fortune, right? Pyramids with purpose, and I believe one of the purposes of pyramids is a vortex energy out of it as well. Cindy, oh yes, I just read that. 100%. Maybe I will bring up that I am Kairos video by the end here. And before I switch and play Shem's excellent live stream, just showing here my alchemy jar experiments that from last episode, where the zinc anode has now eroded out, and that it still has the cathode. Those two coils are plugged in. And look at all the floating monoatomics. They're just suspended, and there's still bubbles you see going through and going up there, and it doesn't disturb these suspended, animated plasmids. Oh, good morning, Liminal. Good day. Welcome, sister. Good to have everybody here. Bless you all for being here, and thank you. It is appreciated. We are live on OdySee. We are live on Twitter. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitch. We are live on Facebook and Rumble as well. We are live on so many different channel or platforms all at once. That's why I love Streamyard. Okay, so anyways, point being, what you're looking at there, those suspended animated objects, and I'm quickly going to show the the eroded anode with Bert and Ernie camera while keeping the second camera on that, so that you can see what happens when I I put more of that zinc anode back in and fully activate the electrolysis reaction that happens. Doing live science with pyramids. And point being of the electrolysis alchemy that we have going on while in a pyramid stream is that this is just salt water with small amounts of electricity. And I believe this alchemy science hydrogen of electrolysis is a key part of what was done or the purposes of the pyramids themselves. Could they have been producing a hydrogen out of water too, possibly? And that is something that I will be investigating more. Anywho, here is the zinc anode that eroded out. Oh, can't talk today. And now it is semi-submerged back into the water there. You can see, and things are starting to bubble. And with putting the electric back in and moving everything, the different suspended particles, the electromagnetic field that had formed within the reaction, some of it got shifted and some of it remained. Different little plasmids still floating amongst, but some falling, some rising. All sorts of different reactions happening, and now we can see off the cathode side here, the coil, it's starting to produce a whole bunch more hydrogen and bubbling now that the anode has been connected back into the water, completing the circuit and reactivating the electrolysis process that is occurring now that the circuit is reconnected or closed again. All right, so with that, let us move on. Okay, right. Sorry. I was going to add more water kind of just to get the zinc plate more submerged to get more of a reaction going, but this is an easier process now. Oops. As I jar everything up. Do you love the pun? Jarring it up. Jar in the jar there. Look at that avalanche happening. All of the falling monoatomic material plasmids from the surface. As there's still that layer, you can see here floating at the top of the jar that all that snow material is kind of snow globing in the jar. All right. Now, let's see. That is one murky electrolysis jar. So we will get back to that ridiculous murky jar in a little bit, just to compare there. And we will now switch the color as we get back to playing what I had essentially planned, the Shem Pyramid stream. And shout out to Shem. I'll post his channel. Here we go. Here's the original video of that we're watching in the live chat right now. Shem's Pyramid stream. And there it is. And ooh, the scab beetle. I do have a couple of them here too. Trudum video, loving it, right? A couple of them. Shout out Gerald, excellent work. I know, right? Like straight up. Thank you, Brian. Bless you. And that each of these little jars, although I definitely can't call them homunculus, because they definitely are not. But they are alive, and they're plasmids, and they're little elemental creatures, I guess. Elemental bugs, maybe, is what I might call them. Shout out to Rex Bear at Leak Project that originally showed me, I think it was Mike Faraday's work with these electrolysis bugs that they were called. But essentially what you're seeing there, these little plasmid creatures that pretty much come alive in this reaction, these little life reactors. Anywho, enough of that. I will get back. We'll get back to it throughout as it clears up. And now, the main feature, the Shem's excellent work. And do go subscribe to Shem. It's youtube.com/@Tartarian Truth. That is Shem's new channel.
But I'm joined by Casey from Golden Gate Starford Command today. What's up, man?
What's happening?
Please let me know how the sound is.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, Chuck had some great work.
Yeah, he's been a huge inspiration, and just getting back into it. Like, I was totally just off course for a while. That, man, I've dug so hard into his videos of late. Like, there's just so much shit. Like, and it sucks he's not making any more, you know? So I feel like it's important for us to get these videos out there.
R.I.P. Chuck.
That's what was crazy for me, because the last video he made was like a Campania pyramid or something like that, and then I just didn't see him pop up on my feed for like 10 months. And I happened to look one day and I was like, dude, because sometimes YouTubers just don't post content, but then I searched for it and I found out that he passed away, and I was just like, damn, because I think he has like 2,000 videos or so on his channel. It's just like, and if you look at his Google Maps, for example, in some of his videos, when he pulls it up at the beginning, you can see that he has so many spots he never even talked about. What's up, Flatback?
I was looking at that today. He had it all pulled up, and there's dozens of fucking dots on there, all in the Midwest.
It's ridiculous. I wish that someone could get access to it. So yeah, basically we're going to start out with this video called China Pyramids and the Sons of Heaven. It's about 7.5 minutes long, so we'll just watch that real quick, and then we'll go over some stuff that relates to it. So appreciate you guys joining us.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for everyone who's here. That's awesome. If there is, should I play?
And shout out to everyone who is here right now today in this live. Good morning, Simon Claret, and welcome. One Love, Brian Evans, brother from Wales, Gerald, WPG Enlightened for Truth 2, and Jeremiah joined the technicians. All three of you here today. Tonight, if you guys want to join me for Real Science episode 34 / Year of the Coil episode 10, we will do a bunch of coil and real science things. But enough about that. Back to the pyramids, and this really is like so they play Chuck, shout out to Chuck, and his 2,100 videos that he has left us, and like, just blessed that he made all of that with his life, and now that he's passed, to keep his memory alive by watching his work and going through it, and the research he exposed on pyramids. And that then Shem here, and I forget his friend's name that he has. I will have to double check. Awesome channel though. Was it Charlie? Maybe, I think it's Charlie. Anywho, yeah, they actually go in on Google Earth and explore all these pyramid sites that Chuck showed, and show the updated sites. Pretty awesome. So without further ado, I will finally play it all for you.
Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and this is by request. Now, I made a video on the China pyramids, and I made about 3 or 4 total before that, but I went over a few things and how these pyramids are laid out. But I will leave a bunch of links below, but I had some really good questions and I'm going to go over those. But I am working on a few videos and this will really be a good segue into my next history video. Also for new subs, I also upload some songs once in a while. And I think I'll have a song from Dendel a little later tonight. But let's just get into this pyramids in China issue.
Strong.
And where do they come from?
It's weird.
And does it match other stories from around the world? Well, let's take a look. Now here's a video I made a couple months ago. And this gives you a good idea of how to find the pyramids in China on Google Earth. And I will leave this link below. But I got some good questions after this video, especially how I related how the pyramids here in China are laid out along the river, kind of like the pyramids in Egypt are laid out along the Nile. So I thought I would look into this a little deeper. And here is a good website, and I will leave the link below. But the history in China is kind of vague, not a lot of access, and the things that we are learning are pretty recent discoveries. But especially on Google Earth, there's some videos on YouTube that show these pyramids. And I've made probably about 4 or 5 and found maybe over 5-6 dozen pyramids total. Now, there was some work done on these in the 1960s, and also at that time, there was a gentleman's diary discovered who was here in the very early 1900s. I'll just read a little. But this gentleman's name was Schroeder, and in 1912 he writes, "I captured the spirit of this magnificent spectacle. We drove around in search of the pyramid entrance, but we did not find anything. When Schroeder asked Bodichon, the local, about the age of the pyramids, he says it's more than 5,000 years. When asked why he believes so, Bodichon said, in our oldest books written 5,000 years ago, these are referred to as the ancient pyramids. They were built in the times of the ancient emperors who said they originated from the sons of heaven that had descended to earth on their fiery dragons." Here is a map of some of these pyramid structures that are along the river here.
Yes,
It says,
it is.
stretching from east to west for 50 kilometers, the valley resembles the Milky Way. Here you see how things are growing today, and they kind of tried to just cover these things up, but there is actually, it seems, causeways off the front of these that are covered up by time. And here are some of the clusters of pyramids. I don't know if there's really been good work done here on what these actually are representing, if they are representing anything as far as stars. Here's a look at some of the other ones. Here you see from ground level how big some of these structures are. Now, the people maybe 2,000, 3,000 years ago, did they repurpose some of these? And of course, the Terracotta Army, I featured those in a video from, I think, 2017. But I don't know. Seems to be the case in a lot of different areas of the world. But what about the origin of these structures? Well, according to the ancient Chinese legends that seem to be preserved and written about, it says construction of the pyramids took place during the reign of the emperors who originated from the sons of heaven, those who descended to earth on their fiery metal dragons. And you can take whatever you want from that. But who are the sons of heaven and how many are there? Well, the legendary Hung Dai is the main guy. Maybe he is the Thoth of this group, but he has assistants. How many total are there? Well, there are 7. But the legend kind of echoes other places, especially Egypt. But I'll talk about that in a second. But it talks about the sons of heaven being wise beings that appeared in the celestial empire long before the first states emerged in the Huanghe Basin. Huang Dai and his team of 5 male companions and 1 female companion descended from heaven to earth in a chariot. They were the 7 sons of heaven. So you can take into that interpretation, whatever you want. But the legend of 7 beings brought civilization long before recorded history started in China. And that is exactly like Egypt. The 7 sages roamed the Nile Valley and set up where the primordial mounds were to become the temples in Egypt. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow in a special video that's coming up. When it says they came down from heaven, I think it means they brought the plans of heaven down to earth. Here are some more pyramids in China. But when they talk about bringing the plans of heaven down to earth, that simply means to me, as above, so below. And as above, so below is not only in the Hermetic text, that also comes from the Vedic text, but not only the 7 sages who brought civilization to the Nile Valley and to the place we call Egypt today, but also the 7 rays of light, the 7 seers brought civilization to the Indus Valley in the India region. And this comes from a lecture from the Penn Museum, Mesopotamian Scholarship, the 7 sages. Who are these people? These are the 7 Anunnaki who brought civilization to Mesopotamia long before recorded history. They are the 7 brilliant Akalis, the Paradu fish of the sea, who ensure the correct functioning of the plans of heaven and earth. This is the same story from all these different civilizations, and China is included. Here is one of the fishmen, the fish gods from Mesopotamian prehistory that carries knowledge forward. That's why they are carrying the handbag here, common throughout the world in some ancient reliefs. But here, striding forward, carrying knowledge forward, and it appears he is wearing what we would call a watch today. But these people come from the sea, an island, and we're going to be talking about that island from prehistory in my next video. And we're going to be matching up ancient text about a lost island where this guy and people from around the world came from. The stories all match up. But here is another pyramid in China. This is a blurry pic, but here you can tell some of these are actually step pyramids. The pyramids in China are a big mystery, but origin stories seem to match from other important places from around the world that seem to spring up thousands of years ago. Was there one common source that brought civilization to all these ancient places? Well, that's the way it seems to me. Hope you thought this was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.
And
Nice. So can you rewind just a second to the Anunnaki fish guy?
yeah, let me okay, how do I get out? I'm gonna have to go back.
So yeah, he said it there pretty much at the end himself that it's more than
So it
likely that it
appeared-
was a civilization connected, building the same structures, having the same stories throughout the world, which is kind of something I've hinted upon before in the past, and tons of people have as well. But when you look at this Sumerian fish
Here's
god
one
guy,
of the fish.
Yeah,
when he says that these are wrist watches, that symbol on his wrist actually represents the goddess Ishtar or Astarte, whatever you want to call her. There's multiple names for her, but this symbol on his wrist actually represents that. And for some reason, in that list that he was showing before, said that the 7 Anunnaki brought civilization to that area. They didn't mention, for some reason, Nimrod and Shamirama, which were allegedly the first people to, I guess, civilize and build forts in certain areas around there. So I don't know. I thought that's kind of interesting. But
that is interesting.
what's up, Sage of Lotus? But yeah, there's some pyramids that he shows in other videos, and we'll take a look at some of those now. We'll start with the one that's actually featured in this video, which is the Great White Pyramid.
Okay, is that where is that one?
I'll bring it up 1 second.
Okay. You want me to keep sharing, or if I can?
Oh, no. Yeah, you can. I'll just remove it, and then you can leave it up for whenever. Okay, so.
Oops.
Add this in here. Okay, so this is the video that he was featuring in that specific video we just watched, which is in this city called Xi'an in China. You can see right here it says Xi'an, Xi'an. This is along a river, and he has another video where he shows that there are 79 pyramids at least in this area alone that he's documented. So that's absolutely fascinating, and it's
Totally
shocking. It's shocking that they even allow us to take a look at this. But As you can
Well, I
see
feel
here
like-
from this. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say, I feel like it was a lot harder before to find like. Well, I think we've gotten a lot better because they don't look like the Giza pyramids. They have fucking they're grown over. They have earth on top of them that covered in mud, covered in plants and whatnot.
Well, that's what reminds me of the pyramids, Teotihuacan in Mexico, South America, is that when they found them originally, they looked exactly like this to me.
Yep, and
And
they were.
even-
And
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was just saying, yeah, they were. It was actually like Carnegie his foundation, his people who dug them all out and like made up the history. In my opinion,
It's weird
making
because
up the history.
they basically say it's different people, but you see the same trend all throughout the world. The only places I haven't been able to find examples of this are in like Germanic, Franco areas of Europe. I found examples in the rainforests of South America, Siberia, Russia, even Saudi Arabia, which is basically, it's Bahrain, but it's still the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. And
then all over America.
North America, yeah, North America. Like for example, you see these types. This one is massive compared to some of the other ones. Obviously, this one's huge, but you see the same thing. It's just a burial mound, and then they have that walking path right up to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is
And
the Great White Pyramid. It was.
Sorry, bro.
No, it's all good. It was basically,
go ahead.
I think the first mission of it was in World War I or II when they were flying over it, and someone took like a video of it or something. But what were you gonna say?
I was they could pass it off. They can pass off a lot of things as a mound. In my opinion, like a lot of things they do pass off as mounds are buried structures.
So some of these mounds in North America, for example, like in my city, they're, I don't know, around where I live, there's at least like 10 or 11 mounds I can think of, and some of them are undocumented, but they're a lot smaller than this. So in that situation, do you think that they're actually burial mounds, or do you think there's structures underneath there that maybe just got covered up by a lot more stuff?
Well, I think the whole burial mound and tomb thing is a program. I don't think like originally these things weren't burials, they weren't tombs. I think that's just kind of been part of this whole restructuring what these things were, like for some reason, it's weird, like these archaeologists, all they find is pottery and like burials, it's just like that's it. I just don't buy
the truth with that.
No, like I just don't buy it. I don't buy that. Like that's all we find. Anything that comes up, oh, it's a burial mound, freaking blah blah.
With these ones, they always say that there's an emperor built or buried under there. So this one's pretty close to this one. This one's called Weiling. Right here, I see when you type in the address, it gives from Google Maps, it's this field, but the actual structure is right here. So you can see this one's also massive, and it's not too far away from the one we were just looking at. So
totally, and even that like light colored patch around it, that could be even more structure underneath it.
Yeah, it's like I have like 15 different ones we can look at here. So here's another one.
Keep pulling them up because these have always been, hard to fucking come across.
A lot of the addresses don't even. Whoa.
Oh man, yeah, I went haywire.
Definitely not, right? I probably just didn't delete everything.
I've had a hard time searching in Tibet and like all that area on Google Earth because it's just the names, they're just not the same as what we use, and so it's really hard to fucking figure out what the hell you're looking at, basically.
We'll come back to that one. I don't know what's going on with that one. It's taking us out to the middle of the Pacific Ocean, it looks like.
That's weird. Maybe that is early where Cthulhu's sleeping.
Possibly. But yeah, this is back to Xi'an again. So here's a site that doesn't even give you the location. But for example, when I type this in on Google, we'll be able to find that it actually is a place and they'll show us some photos. So here we go. It looks exactly like a North American mound when you look at the photos of it. So they show, you notice in that video with Chuck that he was showing those, like, it looked like a archway at the beginning. You see it right here on this, where this horse is, you see this little archway type door thing. For some reason, they put those at every pyramid. I'm not really sure what exactly they are, but so when you see something like this, do you think it's underneath here is more than likely something similar to Teotihuacan, or is this kind of like straight up a burial mound? Like,
I mean, I'm picturing like Teotihuacan or Cholula or any of them.
let's look up the other one that took us to the middle of the ocean. So here's another example. This is massive. Another interesting thing about this is that the story of the Mongols, whenever they had a leader who passed away, they said that they would take the body of the Khan into a very specific location and bury them there, which, if these are actually tombs, it kind of ties into it. A lot of these are said to be of Han Dynasty emperors. So Han Dynasty, Han Chinese are basically what they say that a majority of the ethnic Chinese are to this day. So basically, they're the foundation of modern day China, right? Before that, you had the Qin Dynasty, which lasted a very short amount of time before the Mongolians or the Tartars kind of invaded and basically overthrew them. And then after that, the Han Dynasty ended up winning against, I think, the Shu, and became the next imperial dynasty. But yeah, if you look at this, this is huge. Like, it's just as big as it looks like the Great White Pyramid.
Totally.
There was one that was like absolutely massive. When I saw it, I was shocked. I think it's towards the end of this list. Let's see if it lets us look at all of them on here, or if weird stuff's gonna happen.
If we get sent out to the Pacific Ocean again.
Yeah, that was strange.
We can also, after we do this, if you just search fucking Scythian mounds on fucking Google, like, you couldn't tell the difference between Ohio mound and a Scythian mound, like 1,000,000%.
It's not surprising at all. That's what I'm thinking, is that we have books that talk about the Scythians, or the Scythians and the Mongols and the Tartars and all these people. They seem to be the same civilization, and we have books that talk about them trading in North America in the 12th and 13th century. And it's
I feel like it's like different names given to them just so it can fit the narrative. You know, when you boil it in, it's all the same people.
Yeah, it's like they want to keep everything completely separate. But even in, I think, Scotland and Wales and Scotland, I think I've seen mounds there that are similar to this. I pulled one up recently on a video, but I don't remember where it was because I don't really look into that area too much. But yeah, this is another example. This is called Han Ping, and it's just a massive ziggurat type pyramid. Like, you have the flat top, similar to the pyramids you find in South America and Mexico. So I don't understand what the point of them preventing people from doing research into this stuff is. Like, they don't let people do excavations. They don't let the mummies be disturbed unless they want to build like an industrial site, which one of these on the list used to be a pyramid, but now it's gone and there's an industrial site there. So like, if they want to build something, they have no problem with disrupting it and getting rid of it. But other than that, you're not allowed to actually just do research. Here's another massive pyramid. This is huge.
Yeah, thing's giant.
Like, is this not a pyramid?
Totally. I mean, come on.
I don't know what else this would be if it's in this exact shape with the flat top, and then it clearly has the walking path just like the other mounds you find all over the world.
Yeah.
This one is a mausoleum of Western Han Dynasty. So as you can see, another example of them saying the Western Han were buried here. So here's the one I was talking about a second ago, the Maoling Guyan, missing structure on address. So I'm pretty sure when I typed this one in, it was just showing like stores and stuff in the location. So I'm not sure. And I don't think there was any pictures of it on Google either, but could be wrong.
mean, all this stuff is like fairly. I mean, when Chuck was busting all this out, was like, I think when they were literally discovering these. He had, I mean, dude, he had. There's no way. He said he had 79
Yeah,
fucking mapped out. That's got to be like the biggest list for sure.
China has so much insane archaeology. Yeah, and they don't, like I said, they don't let you do any research into it, because the one or two examples that I've heard about were from Robert Seffer's channel, and he was talking about how they tested the DNA and found out that they were European type mummies. So right here for this example, it kind of seems like maybe they dug out the structure from right here. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell.
Could have mined it or just done archaeological dig on it.
So this one here, the Han Yang Ling, says put the guy down. So I think this is one of the massive ones. The beauties of Google Earth. Too bad it's pretty simple nowadays. Oh yeah, so like, yeah, that's what it was. So when you look at it like this, there's nothing here, but I put the guy down, and what do you get? A massive mound.
Oh yeah, look at that. And it's like they just planted all those trees on there.
It has these small gravestones. I don't see one of the arches like before. I don't know if it's similar to that, or I don't know. Oh, it's right outside of the temple.
Portals or something.
So yeah, that's absolutely massive. I got a few more here. We're got 15, I believe. So this one's called Han Changling. The note says there's 3 pyramids and some small mounds around it. Oh yeah. So this is just in someone's field, some farmer just seeing this every single day, and I don't know what he's thinking when he sees this.
It looks like there's like 3 of them right there too.
Yeah, and this one's been modified.
Yeah.
It's got like a
Holy
CD.
shit, look at that. It's like a drive. Fucking
They must be using that for something. And then there's these 2 smaller mounds here, which are similar to the burial mounds that we find in the Adena culture and everything. Check out the Han Yan Mausoleum.
Let me get up real quick. Sorry. Don't stop.
There's that Great White Pyramid again. So you can see these are all in the same general area of as each other. And more than likely, the river that they're close to was either bigger or on a different course back then when these were built, allegedly. Yeah, this is just another example of a huge pyramid. It doesn't look very different to the other ones. Let's see what it looks like when we drop the guy down real quick. Sometimes it doesn't even let you see stuff. Yeah, I hate when it does this. This one's called the Han Dual Tomb.
It's interesting you said that about the river. I think, yeah, they definitely manipulated so many of the rivers, at least, in America for sure. So it would not surprise me at all that they manipulated that river.
Well, a lot of the stuff around here, when you look at the names of them and stuff, it says canal, so it's more than likely that they're actually dug out by humans. And if you look at texts like Marco Polo, for example, they talk about the ancient peoples building the canals by hand in a lot of these cities. So this is an example of one that doesn't show up on Google Earth. So let's check out on Google and see what it looks like real quick. Usually the Chinese name gives it better search results. Let's hope for the best here.
Yeah, that is a trick.
So it's right next to Dongche Pharmacy. So if you need to pick up some drugs and check out a mound, go ahead.
Perfect.
Apologize for my computer being slow, but yeah, this is just this one looks like a massive mound. It's just actually looks like it's a rectangle mound, but this picture is different, and you can see there's actually 2 here. Wow. So yeah, they didn't even show this on the Google Maps where we just went to, because all I did was take this address here and type it into Google Earth, and it showed a completely flat plane. Doesn't show this or these 2 structures. So thankfully this guy took some photos.
Thanks, BJXDXL.
Okay, so
there is a lot of fuckery when you start looking at Google Earth out in this area, like through China, Tibet, even in Russia, and everything.
What used to be a lot better, you could actually see people. I remember the first time I ever used Google Earth, I saw my car parked outside of my old house, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, here's that one example I was talking about, where now there's nothing here except for this industrial complex. So this one was called the Zawu Wanglang. And I wrote a note, confusing, doesn't seem to exist in all photos. So I think someone took some photos of them trying to get in here, if I remember correctly. They just said
if you go back to the Earth view of that, it almost looks like there's like a shadow of a pyramid triangle, like the darker color.
Are you talking about like right by that?
Zoom out a little bit.
Zoom out.
Yeah, zoom out. Well, that just like that kind of dark shadow.
Well, it's right by this Great White Pyramid, so more than likely there was something close to here. What I'm looking at is these 2 mound type things right here.
Oh yeah, those are for sure.
I don't know what this is. It looked like a mound from above, but when I zoom in, it kind of doesn't. But yeah, this one kind of looks like a mound. Let's see if we can drop the guy down real quick.
We're going in.
Yeah, it's pretty flat and distorted. Looks like Nintendo 64 graphics. Thanks, Google.
All
right, so let's move on for now.
Right down here.
Check out this bad boy real quick on Google. So yeah, these are apparently tourist attractions. So it's weird that no one really talks about them, and they're not. I mean, maybe people do talk about them. Obviously, we haven't seen every single video or read every single paper, but yeah, look at this one. Apparently, this is a burial mound. It looks massive. It looks like a mountain. And that one doesn't even look like it's constructed by humans to me. If that's a burial mound, that's shocking to me. It's huge. Can we translate this to English?
I mean, it's mountain size for sure.
See if we can translate this to English real quick.
And that one too, you know, at least looking at it, like from this view, it doesn't have like the pyramid shape, but it's also just perspective too.
Well, none of them really, because they all have that, like, I guess, distorted type flat top shape and everything. The missing top, which, yeah, he brought up the whole Thoth thing in regard to the fire chariot when in that video when he's talking about the seven sons of God or whatever coming down in the fire chariot, which is interesting because there's multiple examples in history that talk about the moon being split, and when they see the moon being split, they talk about a red fiery dragon for some reason being a part of that. So I don't know if that ties into it in any way, shape, or form, but basically what I was thinking about when he was talking about that was he made the connection to Thoth, which is Hermes, which is basically the messenger of information, which ties all the way back to that goddess I was talking about before, Semiramis, who is basically represents the mystery religion, which the mystery religion is getting knowledge to be as close to God as possible. So these people are allegedly bringing knowledge to mankind and the foundation of this civilization that Chuck was talking about in that video, right? All right, so this is the translation. Kinling Museum is a Chinese mausoleum. So this is a museum. Wow. So yeah, anyone can pause this and read it. We won't go through all of it because we're trying to keep this a little bit on the short side. But yeah, this is astounding. And they have these statues all along the way to get up there too.
And those big walls, like, or towers or whatever. Those are two mounds right there.
Exactly. This is crazy. Yeah, so who knows if these are man-made structures or not. If that is, that's incredibly impressive. All right, so 2 more. This one's the Zhao Mausoleum, and note says the biggest mausoleum of the Tang Dynasty. So we're moving out of the Han into the Tang. Let's check out on Google Earth and see if it actually shows up. This one's in the mountains. So yeah, this is different than what we looked at before. This one doesn't appear to be a pyramid. It appears to be similar to the Valley of the Kings or something in Egypt, I guess. See if we can take a look at it.
Yeah, some mountain vibes.
And no, stuck in N64 world. Yeah, if you want to look that one up for yourself, it's called the Zhao Mausoleum, and this last one here is Han Baling. Check it out on Google first, and then we'll see if Google Earth wants to give us anything. Yeah, some of these I just don't remember why I added them to the list. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, don't be sorry.
So yeah, this one's another massive alleged.
That, dude.
It's huge. Let's check it out on Google Earth real quick before we go to this and see if we can actually. Oh, this one doesn't really give an address, so more than likely no. Yeah, it's not even. So the address they give doesn't really do anything for us. So let's check out some of these photos real quick, and then. Wow.
They always put the tombstones in front of it.
That one doesn't really have that flat of a top.
No, that's pointy.
It's kind of distorted here on this side, though. All right, so the next video we're going to be checking out is based in South America. So just real quick, while we have those images in our mind, I kind of want to show this. This is what Teotihuacan looked like before it was excavated, and it kind of just reminds me of these mounds. I'm sure that anyone watching this video has already seen these photos before or something similar to them and gets an idea of what we're talking about. So right here, this picture, figure 1, Pyramid of Teotihuacan lithograph, 1870. Now, think about what we were just looking at with all those mounds, and then think about what Teotihuacan looks like when it's excavated. See this? See the difference between these two things? They're not, like, for example, in figure 2 here, sun and moon pyramids, this one doesn't even look like it's very even on one side, but it ends up being a pyramid underneath it. So I guess what I'm trying to say with this is that when we're looking at these mounds in China and we're speculating that they could be pyramids, it's not that far-fetched compared to previous research that's been done in other areas where they've actually been excavated, right?
Totally. That's perfectly said.
So that's what we're not saying. We're not saying we know that they're pyramids or anything like that. We're just sharing the location so anyone who knows more than we do can potentially add more to the conversation. Because to me, when I see something like this figure 1 here, and I see something like the Great White Pyramid or some of the other examples we showed, it's almost the same thing to me. And like I said, I've seen evidence of these same people who ruled over these lands, evidence of them trading in North and South America in the 11th, 12th, 13th century. And if they're trading, it seems more than likely that they would integrate into the society at some point, or at least possibly even be stuck there and maybe start some of these civilizations like the Mayans or the Incas, or join them at least at some point. And if they're capable of building these massive cities in China, like Beijing, for example, or Moscow, Russia, why would they not be able to do that in North America and South America when they come over, right? So those are just some questions to think about, and we're going to move on to the next video here from Chuck.
Yeah, and I'm with you on all of that, man. I'm with you on all that.
What's up, Oki? Good to see you.
We got some people in the chats. I saw Flat Fact was in there. Much love and respect. We are live. We are live.
But yeah, let's get up that second video. So
Okay, let's do it. There we go. All right, is that working? We back in? All right, give it a play.
Hey everybody, video
Hold on.
here, and I've had a couple questions.
Yep.
I think we're good here. Do you want to give a little introduction? So this is the Cholula pyramid.
Yeah, so this is a really fascinating site because not only is it like by volume, it's like the biggest pyramid on Earth. Also, there's this crazy Gothic fucking cathedral built on top of it, and as we'll see, if like Chuck very quickly spells it out really quick that they have no idea where the fuck this thing, who the fuck built this shit, where the fuck it came from or anything. So,
Largest
yeah,
pyramid structure on Earth. That alone is amazing. Let's check it out.
Yeah, totally. And he breaks it down. He'll show like charts and everything. But yeah, let's dig in. Just yell stop if you want me to or whatever.
We'll do. We'll try to make it through the video just so we can have an archive of it. But
yeah,
if
totally.
we do pause it, I apologize to anyone watching this later.
Hell yeah. All right, here we go.
Questions on this, and this is something I haven't talked about for about 2.5 years, so I thought this was good to revisit this and make a video on it. And I think this is a big mystery as far as how old this structure is. We are heading down to Cholula, Mexico, and this is one of the largest pyramids in the world, and it is still mainly buried by a lot of sedimentation, and that is the first thing that tells me maybe this is real old. But this is all we have today, the pyramid of Cholula, and I'll go over the measurements of this place, but just the bottom of the base is sticking out, and then the rest is covered by sedimentation. How much sedimentation? Well, we're going to look at that, and this is what they guess is below the summit where a church is on top of today, and I guess that kind of restricts the archaeological work as far as tunneling down from the top. And I'm not sure if that issue has been resolved, but not just a huge massive pyramid. And I just don't think they know what's underneath here. And obviously the sedimentation is just represented on top here, but this is a stone structure all the way up to the top. And what's peeking out looks very impressive, but this work goes on out into plazas and little ceremonial centers outside of here, but we'll take a look at some of that on Google Earth. Now here is another drawing of what they think this place looked like originally, and there is a lot of dirt on top of here, and I think that tells a story, but they don't know who built this. And if I remember right, archaeological work went on here decades ago, and then it was kind of put to a halt, and this place has never been properly looked into. It wasn't until about 100 years ago that they finally realized there was a massive pyramid here, but this is just some of the pics from around the area. This is down near the base. But what is this place associated with? What do the experts say this was built in line with or around the same period? Well, a lot of people, a lot of researchers connect it to Teotihuacan, the way it looks, the way it was built. And we do not know who built Teotihuacan. As far as Teotihuacan and this site, we do not know who built it. There are guesses, names such as the Olmecs, the Toltecs come up, but this place to me just really hints that it goes way back into antiquity. But names of more modern cultures are attached to places such as Cholula and Teotihuacan, but the truth is we haven't a clue on who built these original structures. And there is evidence that later cultures may have added on or improved or done some reconstruction work. But as far as originally who built these, we don't have a clue. Now here is aztechhistory.com, and I will leave the link below. It says Cholula, just outside the city of Puebla, is a site of the massive Cholula Pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Cholula. It says The area has probably been inhabited for over 3,000 years, and the original pyramid may be over 2,000 years old. Well, they really don't have a clue, but things hint that this is very ancient. It says the Cholula pyramid, as it appears today, and since the days of Cortez, much of it covered in brush and topped by a church. It says over 2,000 years ago, Cholula was rising from being a village to being a city of some importance. As the city became a place of power, many of the powerful cultures of Mexico had their turn to rule it. The Olmecs, the Toltecs, and later the Aztecs. The city was once called Acolalan. In Nahuatl means a place of flight or water that falls in the place of flight. This has led some to believe that Cholula was founded after its inhabitants fled from somewhere else. The earliest pyramid was probably built around 200 BC, and they theorize then these later cultures just added on. But when was it originally built? Well, 200 BC. I think it goes back thousands of years, probably before that. From the architecture and items found at the site, we know that Cholula had strong relations with not only nearby cities as Tenochtitlan, but the coast as well, and others connected to Teotihuacan. For example, archaeologists have found seashells beneath one of the altars, an offering to Quetzalcoatl. And I guess this is an altar, an offering to Quetzalcoatl, who came from the sea. Each group that dominated Cholula added to the pyramid, technically called a temple, not a pyramid, but certainly that main structure with the steps going up can certainly be called a pyramid by anybody that has studied this. It says each group added to the pyramid until it became the massive structure larger than any of the pyramids of Egypt by volume. The Aztecs believed Zelhua, one of the giants from their mythology, had constructed the pyramid of Cholula, and he was one of 7 giants.
7.
Were they giants or just giants of knowledge who taught him all sorts of things? Well, a few things have been discovered and unearthed here. It says, one mural that was discovered is a life-size scene of drinking and inebriation. It may depict the effects of a drug potion from the period. And from about over 5 years ago, this is one of my videos, and I did a video on that. And some now theorize that that may have been an ayahuasca type drink that they were drinking. As visitors can also explore tunnels alone or with a guide. The base of the Cholula pyramid measures 450 by 450 meters, or 492 yards on each side, and is 66 meters high, or 72 yards high. But there are miles of tunnels beneath this pyramid, and that seems to be the way it is with these very old pyramids, but I don't think we really have an answer for this place. It says it's a fascinating site to visit and really doesn't get the recognition it deserves as an important historic site and an interesting tourist site. Urbanization of the area encroaching on the pre-Hispanic site kept Cholula and its pyramid off the list of World Heritage Sites. Still, there is no site like it in the world. But just a few general facts. This place by the local people was called the man-made hill or the artificial hill, and in the ancient language of the Nahuatl people, place of refuge. But the dating of this, when did it start? Well, people are not sure, but they give it a general answer. It says the pyramid temple complex was built in 4 stages, starting from the 3rd century BC through the 9th century AD, when the city was dedicated to the deity Quetzalcoatl. And I've talked about Quetzalcoatl. I showed him on Mayan pyramids. Where did he come from? An island that sank beneath the sea. It says the post-classic Aztecs believe that Zelhua built the Great Pyramid of Cholula. Who is Zelhua? Zelhua is one of 7 giants in Aztec mythology who escaped the flood by ascending the mountain of Tictoc in the terrestrial paradise, and afterwards built the Great Pyramid of Cholula. Now, the 7 giants, is that the same as the 7 sages who brought civilization to Egypt, the 7 Anunnaki who brought civilization to that part of the world, or the 7 rays of light who brought civilization to India? Well, it's all the same story. It says, according to the Guinness Book of Records, it is in fact the largest pyramid as well as the largest monument ever constructed anywhere in the world. with a total volume estimated at over 4.45 million cubic meters, even larger than that of the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, which is about 2.5 million cubic meters. And here is a comparison graph. Down at the bottom here, the green is the Great Pyramid of Cholula. And then this is how big the Pyramid of the Sun is at Teotihuacan, Great Pyramid at Cholula. And how big is the Great Pyramid? This is how big the Great Pyramid is. It is bigger in height-wise, but in total volume, the Great Pyramid at Cholula has more volume in it if you include everything around the area here. But from overhead, there is no alignment. It doesn't appear to be as far as the cardinal points. You just have some stonework sticking out. Some of this has been rebuilt based on what they found under the sedimentation and trees here. But this kind of loses some of its appeal because it's buried by sedimentation. How much sedimentation? Well, in areas it appears to be thousands and thousands of years. Now here we are down on Street View, and here is part of the complex that is lying around the pyramid. A lot under the earth here. Different cultures came along and built along here. This place appeared to be always sacred by cultures who lived around it. Why? Because there's an original pyramid under here that could go back thousands and thousands of years, and we just don't know. And here is a courtyard from down in front of the pyramid. There seems to be an altar here, and some say this is in honor of Quetzalcoatl. But this will just give you an idea of what it looks like down here at the bottom. People have associated this to Teotihuacan, place we don't know who built it. Same questions, I believe, here. This is a very impressive structure under here. And what exactly would we find if we took all these trees and dirt off of here? Well, I think we'd be awestruck and we'd be looking at a place that we would put on equal grounds with the Great Pyramid in Egypt. Why? Because I think the survivors of a cataclysm built both of these places. But just like the mounds in the United States, when they're covered with trees and dirt and soil, they lose a little bit of their significance in our mind's eye, but they shouldn't. A massive stone structure is underneath here, and here is just out in front of the courtyard, and they have some ceremonial thing built down into the ground here. What this is, I'm not really sure, but this whole place had significance that went back thousands of years and to many different cultures. And then going over to the front, you just look around and you can kind of see in your mind's eye how this is shaped, comes down here. There's a step here covered up with sedimentation. Here we are on the north side, normal street, looks like a hill on this side, but this is actually a massive stone structure under here. Maybe an entrance to the tunnel system, but man, this is one cool place I'd love to explore. But underneath here, massive stone structure, a pyramid that goes back, my belief, the best clue, my guess, it goes back thousands of years, not just 2,300 years, goes back a lot farther than that. Now here, I think this is the west side, but you get an idea of the structure sticking out here, stairway, and this does remind me of Teotihuacan. Then we come over here and we have this area that was excavated, and I think there was a little bit of reconstruction done here. Now, I say this site could be thousands of years old, and what I really need to base it on is some evidence, but maybe 3,000 BCs, possibly, maybe going back maybe to the 9,000 BCs. And if I would have said years ago, 9,000 BCs as far as any of these structures being built, that would have seemed far-fetched to me, but I think that's when the Sphinx was built. I think that's when the Great Pyramid, however those original structures looked, I think those were built in the 9,000 BCs. This place, how much sedimentation is on here? How much of this did they have to dig out? Well, I think here gives you a clue. You can see where the stone structure stops. Now that is a heck of a lot of sedimentation. That looks like how much sedimentation is covering the bottom of the statues at Easter Island. That, I mean, how many years are we talking about? Does this go back way back to a time when really researchers really don't care to find out how old this place was? Well, I think about those kind of things. But the sedimentation right here, I think that is clear evidence that maybe we really don't know the full story of how old this place was originally. By the way, these glyphs or this design on here, if I was to look at this as far as being an Egyptian hieroglyph, this is the glyph for water. And when they're done above and below, that means there is something happening above that all has to do with water, and something below that has to do with water. Is this a story being told in these glyphs? Well, that is a slight possibility. But those of you who like to use Google Earth, this is a pretty cool place to just go look around and try to use your imagination of what this place looked like originally, and try to wrap your head around how much sedimentation is actually on top of this place and how long that would have taken to accumulate. But this video today, just opening up some possibilities. This is a massive stone pyramid underneath sedimentation, a church, trees. Kind of looks like a natural hill when you're in certain places. And you see here, there seems to be a smaller structure buried right here that had everything to do with Cholula. That is the largest by volume pyramid type structure in the world. The answers we have, are they sufficient? Hardly. The work here seems to be kind of incomplete, inadequate, more questions than answers. But that is a video that I've been meaning to make for a while. This is a place maybe connected in some way to Teotihuacan in Mexico, but hope you thought that was cool, and you all have a very nice day.
And we will.
Ptolemy of Alexandria.
Shout out, Chuck.
We will.
Great video.
Yeah, dude. I mean, fuck. Where do you even begin after that? I didn't even put the 7 together when I picked this video on yours.
You didn't even have
crazy.
to. That's the
Yeah.
craziest thing about looking into this hidden history, is that when you go
Big
into
time.
looking at different sources and different histories of societies, you find these connections like that, not even wanting to or thinking you're going to, and then depending on how much other stuff you've read, you're like, holy shit, like this is the same exact story. This is the same thing over and over again. Now, the reason why that is, I don't know, because think of it like this: if every civilization has 7 people, was that like a deliberate envoy? Like how there's a certain amount of soldiers in each unit, or is it because
Right.
the same story has been made up and given to these people for their certain areas? You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many different possibilities that you could look at it from. Like, is it fake? Is it real? Is it based on something that actually happened? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's
What
so
were you
interesting how
thinking?
it's just it's blanket all the way across. I mean, fuck. It talks about the tunnels. I mean, one thing he doesn't even really go into is the church that's on top of it.
Yeah, it looks like it's like Moorish or Russian to me.
Totally, and it goes back to fucking they're bringing up fucking Hernan Cortez. And
So
all
this
these people.
this appears to be like an estimation of what it looks like, or is this something? Do you know anything about this drawing or anything, or because it's clearly when you see the video, it hasn't been completely excavated. So is this just like an estimation of what they're?
This one right here.
Yeah, the one I have.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot that I was only screen 1. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing too, is this is just what they're like admitting to what is there basically, or what has been discovered. I mean, I just have to imagine that it goes way more underground than this even.
Yeah, the tunnels were interesting, and what were they used for exactly? I don't know. Like, it's hard to tell.
Right.
Let's take a look at this cathedral real quick, and if you have some stuff you wanted to pull up in relation to this too, feel free. I'm just showing some random stuff I was bringing up as I was watching it. So this is that cathedral that's on top of it. So as you can see, it's got the domes. I guess it looks just like Orthodox type structure.
It definitely doesn't look as old as like most of the crazy cathedrals. But
Church of Our Lady of Remedies. Is that a reference to me?
That is Our Lady of the Remedies is the title of the Virgin Mary, developed by the Trinitarian order founded in the 12th century.
Dude, that's crazy, because it ties back to that whole thing we were talking about earlier with the mystery religions and Semiramis, because I think it was in the 1950s or the 1960s, the Catholic Church gave Mary the title the Queen of Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same title given to this goddess from history, which that guy with the watch earlier from the Sumerian culture, that same goddess is called the Queen of Heaven. So just very recently, they gave that title to Mary in the Catholic Church. Now, to be fair to the Catholic Church, there are people who are against this, but that's just showing that this group has infiltrated almost every religion throughout history, and they're basically just doing the same things to any religion that's allowed to be public, or any organization that's allowed to be public. They push these beliefs from behind the scenes, and they gradually get to that point over time. So that's not saying that Catholic people are evil or that they are deliberately worshiping this goddess. It's just saying that there are people who join the Catholic religion and then stay behind the scenes with their secret practices, and over time they gradually push their beliefs into the Catholic religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you read something like the Jesuit Oath, or if you read like Protocols of the Elders of Zion, stuff like that, you can see examples of what I'm talking about. They are, or the Donme, for example, they're allowed to have their religious beliefs behind closed doors and join any religion publicly, or any organization publicly, and pretend like they are a part of it to accomplish their goal. They don't care if they're alive to see the results. They think it's a long battle that they're fighting.
Right, and that's just that's a different way to talk about infiltrating other groups, basically, a less ominous sounding way.
I think it's pretty ominous, because if you read the Jesuit Oath, for example, have you ever read the Jesuit Oath?
It is ominous, but I just meant they're saying it, they're trying to say it in a less ominous way. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
but no, it's absolutely fucking insidious, ominous, fucking vile.
So say, for example, that this entire structure here is actually a pyramid. Does this remind you of those giant mounds we were looking at in China, where I was saying like, oh, I don't even know if that's man-made or not, because it's so huge. This is massive.
Totally. I mean, it looks like there's a church on top of a hill. You know what I mean?
But they started excavating stuff after this, and either A, built those structures to get tourists to come there, or B, they're actually underneath the grass and it's a pyramid, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think they've constructed the story to get the tourism and all that kind of stuff. But I think they also, they rebuilt what they had to rebuild to like fit the narrative enough, but even so, like one of the big takeaways of Chuck from this is like they have no idea who built this fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like even the mainstream is it's all guesses and theories. Our guesses and theories are as good as anyone else's.
Exactly. I haven't looked into this site enough to really, I guess, give an opinion on that, but I do think that a lot of it in general is just people getting paid to make these guesses who don't, necessarily always have the best of evidence, but just
or intentions.
Just looking at these pictures or looking at the video, for example, Flat Fact kind of said that it looked like there was a newer altar, for example. I thought some of the bricks looked pretty clean for the condition that they were in. So I don't know how much of that was actually just rebuilt. But if you look at this picture here that I pulled up onto the right here, these bricks look like they're old. I don't know how long it takes for bricks to look like that, but they look a lot different than what Chuck was showing in his video, because his video had like white stones, just looked very nice, very polished.
Right. And he mentions a lot about how things could have been repurposed, which is, I think, absolutely what has happened, What sucks is it's hard to say what has been rebuilt and what, you know what I mean? Like we can't trust these sources fucking doing this shit.
Yeah, I just don't know how to feel about it. There's a bunch of theories I have as to why things are the way they are, but all of them are there's not much evidence to back them up. So I just
Yeah, totally.
I'm still looking. It does remind me of the ziggurat shape, I guess, from Ur. We'll look at that real quick. Like it's not exactly the same, but if you can see right here, before they excavated it, it does look similar to it in some ways. And then who knows how much of this modern structure was actually built by, Saddam Hussein to make like tourist attraction, because these bricks do look like they're very new.
Right. Totally.
Like that looks brand new.
And yeah, that's the thing that at least from America, just from the Cold War, they've kept us out of looking into Russia and then into the Gulf shit. Like there's a reason for that as well. It's to fucking hide all the shit to keep us from it.
Yeah, they don't want people to know the alternatives to history for some reason. I think it's economically based, but that's the most optimistic way of looking at it. There's other reasons why it could be as well. But did you have anything you wanted to pull up?
I mean, not really. I mean, fucking, I kind of think that video spoke for itself. I mean, this is a fascinating site, dude. Fucking, and just the similarities between the pyramids in China, the mounds all across Russia, Siberia, everywhere. Like, I mean, if we would have said all those pyramids were in Mexico or South America that were in China, like no one would even thought different. But we see these similarities all over the place. Like we have to make these connections, in my opinion,
Yeah, and even though we don't have the answers, hopefully someone who sees this, if they ever do, can find that extra connection and give their knowledge on the situation and actually make progress on the situation and finding out who actually built this stuff.
100%, dude.
But yeah, that's pretty much all we got for tonight. Appreciate everyone hanging out, and go check out CF Apps on YouTube. He has over 2,000 videos and they're all amazing. And check out Golden Gate Starfort as well. I have his link in the description.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Definitely, if anything out of this, just fucking go on a CF Apps rabbit hole. It's amazing.
Yeah, we plan on doing more videos with this stuff in the future, and we'll just kind of add more onto his videos as we can and based on what we know or stuff we find as a result of watching his videos. But for now, this is just a little brief introduction to some of his work. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Have a good night.
Hell yeah.
All right, just like that, I'm back in time. Always watching, always paying attention. Shout out to Shem and to Casey there. Great work, and of course, rest in peace, Chuck. Chuck, forever a legend in bringing forward just lost history around the world. And for those that don't know, Shem's new channel, here it is, Shem Jacobs. And make sure you do go subscribe. It's YouTube at Tartarian Truth in the live chat right now, Shem's channel. And do go subscribe. And also to Chuck, but it's in the description. I don't have it up right now. I will in a minute. Always late to the party. Well, welcome, Brian A. Metz. Glad to have you here. McLevin, always awesome. So the second half here, I'm going to go into the Ferram Foundation's work on the Bosnian pyramid, as well as a bunch of pictures I have of different pyramids around the world from from my Pinterest. And oh, very good. Yes, exactly right. You're never late to the party. You're right on time, the way it's meant to be. So also here, let's quickly, before moving on, we'll take a look at what's going on in the experiments here, and also remind myself time to change the color because we're on to a different segment. 1 hour 30 minutes into the stream. Welcome everybody watching. It says there is 60 of you beautiful souls and awesome beings joining me here right now across the different platforms. I suspect it's probably higher. Not sure why my camera isn't focusing properly, but all the blur there, that's a lot of hydrogen that is being produced now, bubbling off of the different coils coming up there. Do I have a plasma pen? Right. Well, I'm building another one right here. Little plasma pens. The plasma coils. Here is a Magrav healing coil with plasma pen, nano-coated crystals and all. Oops, here we go. And yeah, I'm going to be emailing Rick Crammond here right away to do some Keshi teachings on this different stuff and making more coils, the Magrav coils, and actually trying to get a working free electricity unit out of it all. And on that note, I need a few more minutes just to get ready here. So let us play quickly another excellent little pyramid video that I think I have ready, that I should have ready. Yes, here we go. Here it is. And it is Campbell talking with Autodidactic, talking with Sam Osmanovich, Dr. Sam. And I will be going into the Bosnian pyramids here in a few minutes. So we might as well hear from Dr. Sam Osmanovich, the discoverer of those pyramids and all the research that he has done within them. Sorry, just posting it on my Twitter so that we can watch it live without the commercials. Sam and Campbell. Kaboom. And copy that, tweet it. It's now tweeted. We open it up, we share it, and here we go. This right here, Sam and Campbell.
More than 95% of the resources on this planet.
And how is the sound?
Imagine that you have free energy. You would change everything. With free energy, no more oil, gas, no more dirty industries, no more, those big tankers, no more refineries, no more petrochemical industry, no more plastic, no more auto industry as we have it today, no more, pharmaceutical industry, no more additives for our food and water that poison our food and water. Everything changes.
Well, I've been looking into Tartary, which is kind of, we're looking at, history is not what we're told, obviously. And, things have, there's been civilizations there that we haven't been told about and different technologies. And we get into a lot of the healing frequencies and all that. And the interesting thing is, it sort of started in the cities we've got now with the old buildings, but it's kind of led us back to the megalithics and to the pyramids. Like we've been actually looking a lot at the pyramids and the Nubian pyramids. A lot of those were destroyed. We've got on old maps that they were just wiped out. Obviously, I've looked at the Chinese pyramids in South America, and then we got onto the Russians who did all these experiments with pyramids and with the angles and shapes, and they were getting all these energetic effects. Like food wouldn't spoil, or seedings would grow, and all this kind of stuff. So it's very interesting that I started on my channel on a different kind of course, but it's kind of led us back to the same kind of back to the megaliths, and we're sort of looking at all that now. So
well, that's great, Campbell. I think we will have a lot to talk today. You see, my name is Dr. Sam Osmanagic, and I've been researching pyramids and megalithic sites for the last 4 decades. My PhD is about the Mayan pyramids in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize, but I have expanded the research to all 6 continents. And I have concluded that almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids. When it comes to pyramids, we have been programmed to think that they were built in Egypt and Mexico. And that's wrong because they're all over the planet. And secondly, they've been telling us in the last couple of hundred years that Egyptian pyramids were built as tombs for the pharaohs. And guess what? In Egypt, there are 155 pyramids, not 118 like non-scientific Wikipedia claims or Encyclopedia Britannica. 155. I have researched and I've seen all of them, and they're in my books. Not a single one has a mummy.
No.
Of course, the pharaohs have been buried, but in the Valley of Kings, in Thebes, in Memphis, in Abydos, in Dendera, in their major capitals, not in the pyramids. So in the 21st century, we really need to find the scientific answers to what the pyramids were, who really built them, when they were built, and how they were built. So, after my 4 decades of research, I came to Bosnia, that was 2005, and I came to visit the local museum. But then what I saw was, everybody called it natural hill because it was covered by vegetation and soil and the forests. But I could see the perfect geometry, 4 sides, 4 triangular faces, 4 corners, the same slope from bottom to the top. So it was geometry of the pyramid, 4-sided pyramid. I took a compass and showed me that those 4 sides are perfectly oriented to the cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. And that's how the pyramids were built in China. In China, 250 pyramids in the central province of Shanxi, all covered by soil and vegetation. As a matter of fact, the Chinese government started planting the pine trees back in 1967. But again, perfect geometry, perfect orientation. In Cambodia, we have beautiful Koh-Ker pyramid in the northern parts of the country. Of course, Angkor Wat with the pyramidal temples are interesting, but Koh-Ker pyramid is a 7-tier, 7-step pyramid, beautiful, and most of their structures were, under the vegetation. In Indonesia, Gunung Padang, Western Java, our friend Dr. Danny Hillman discovered the pyramid in the middle of the jungle. And back in 2006, when he was allowed to work, he found organic material inside the pyramid. He dated it. It's 28,500 years old. Then pyramids, of course, in United States. Nobody tells us about those pyramids. In Cahokia National Park, in the state of Illinois, southwestern corner, 120 Cahokia mounds. But you can clearly see that they are 4-sided step pyramids. And no archaeological research. When I spoke to the archaeologist there, he said, no, we cannot get the permission. Archaeology is very expensive, which is nonsense. I mean, it's the US, the only superpower in the world. But then you realize that, cultural establishment do not research. Why? Because they would need to change the history. Even on the small islands like Canary Islands, Tenerife, 104 pyramids. Mauritius, 7-step pyramids. And then, before we started recording it, you mentioned Nubian pyramids in northern Sudan, 224 pyramids. Obviously, the world of the past was the world of pyramids. And then you mentioned something very interesting. You mentioned also the modern pyramids that are built in Russia. Dr. Alexander Golod, he built 16 pyramids. Our friend Valery Uvarov, he built pyramids in Moscow, St. Petersburg, in Tomsk. They are building a complex of 33 pyramids. And I was the first foreigner to visit those pyramids in Siberia. Dr. Golod has done several experiments with the pyramids, concluding that they have a healing, features. He placed 5 tons of kitchen salt, and he had a contract with a nearby prison. So he asked warden to give prisoners salt during breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 3 months later, he came back, and then they realized that the level was reduced to 0. 6,000 prisoners, no violence whatsoever. What does that mean? It means that the energy of the pyramids affects the food in very beneficial way. Well, back in 2005, when I first came to the town of Visoko in central Bosnia and Herzegovina, first year I started working as a physical person, one guy. It was one-man show with preliminary archaeological research, geological core drilling, lab analysis, and I realized that they were all anomalies. It was not a natural phenomenon. So I wrote a book. I announced the news to the world that the first European pyramids were discovered. And the following year, I established non-profit, non-government foundations for the archaeological research. And in the last 17 years, Campbell, it has become the most active archaeological site in the world. Every year, I have hundreds of volunteers. In the last 13 years, I've had volunteers from 64 countries and 6 continents, 3,750 of them. So every season, we have hundreds of volunteers. They work under our supervision, of course, our archaeologists, geologists, engineers. We teach them archaeology. They start digging with us. And we concluded that we have actually the complex of 6 pyramids in Bosnia. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, which is the largest on the planet, 368 meters, which we determined using the new technology called LIDAR or LIDAR technology. Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon, 190 meters. And for the comparison, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, or Cheops, or Khufu, is 147. So 2 biggest are in Bosnia: Pyramid of Dragon, Pyramid of Love, Temple of Mother Earth, the 6th pyramid. And interestingly enough, 3 major pyramids, Sun, Moon, and Dragon, they form perfect equilateral triangle. The distances between the tops, 2,180 meters, 2,180, 2,180.
180.
When we started digging, yes, when we started digging back in 2006, 1 meter under the soil, we started discovering rectangular and square blocks in several rows. We have analyzed those blocks at 7 institutes for materials: Politecnico di Torino in Italy, Geopolymer Institute in France, Institute for Geology of Czech Academy of Sciences, Slovakia, Bosnia. They all told us that that was an artificially made concrete. So the pyramid is covered in millions of tons of concrete. And they told us it was the best quality concrete ever. How do you determine that? Well, hardness. Harder the concrete, more durable, better the quality. Our concretes in 21st century are in the scale from 10 to 60 megapascals. After we've analyzed 50 samples from the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, the hardness is from 74 to 155 megapascals. We cannot make such a hard concrete with our technology. The next element, since I travel around the world, I realized there are several common elements. The next element is the orientation to the cardinal points, to the north especially. Well, the pyramids in China, northern direction, Cambodia, Indonesia, Egypt, north. For example, the Great Pyramid of Egypt has an error from the perfect cosmic north of 0 degrees and 3 minutes. 3 minutes, that's a fraction of 1 degree, that's perfect. The second largest, Khafre or Kefren, 0 degrees, 3 minutes. Mycerinus or Mycenaeus, the third one, 0 degrees, 18 minutes. Bent Pyramid in Dahshur, 0 degrees, 12 minutes. A Red Pyramid, 0 degrees, 5 minutes. I mean, that's genius. In Bosnia, our error, 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds. the most precise ever. Who measured that? The State Institute for Geodesy. We had 3 engineers who came with the total station. They got connected with the satellites, and they got this perfect orientation. So we started discovering element after element. They were telling us how precise and how superior those builders were. And then the next one, we used the scanner to scan what was inside the pyramid using geophysical instruments. We realized there are 7 levels of passageways, and they're laid out like a spiral going to the top. And then the next element, during the archaeological work, we discovered a lot of quartz crystal and white crystal on the pyramid walls and in the tunnels. And as we know, and secondly, they had the ability to transform one form of the energy, in our case, we measure electromagnetic field, to another one through the piezo electrical. Hello?
Sorry, I'm back.
And then, the next element, under the pyramid, we discovered underground water flow. Water moves, releases negative ions. Negative ions are extremely important for our health. They are very beneficial. And then we've been measuring using air ion counters. These are instruments made in the US. The concentrations are the biggest on the planet because I use those instruments when I go to Egypt, South Africa, Germany, US, other countries. And then the next element, we measure one specific form of the energy called orgone energy. William Reich, 100 years back, he discovered this instrument that measures invisible form of the energy. But since you have the instruments, you can measure. You can scientifically prove. If discovered that, like in the cities, on the scale from 0 to 100, it's about 10% orgone energy. Villages, 20%. In the tunnels in Bosnia, on the pyramids in Bosnia, 40%. So it seems that the pyramids, they actually generate very beneficial energy. So, Campbell, shortly, it seems that the ancient had very specific goal, why they built this complex. Now, archaeologists, historians, museum curators, geologists, they cannot really help us in explaining what is the purpose of pyramids. We needed real scientists, people with the scientific instruments, physicists, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers, medical doctors, and they've been coming in the last 15 years. And this is what we concluded. On the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, there is an energy beam, which is 28 kilohertz frequency, which is electrical in nature, which is continuous because we measure it in the summer, fall, winter, spring. And it starts at 4.5 meter radius. It expands to 20, coming back to 4.5, 20, 4.5, 20. And as it moves away from the pyramid, it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. In science, this phenomenon is called scalar waves.
Okay.
And the guy who was experimenting with the scalar waves and who was aware of their existence was the genius mind of Nikola Tesla. Tesla, back in 1899, in his lab in Colorado Springs, he was experimenting with this. And the Russian physicists, they've been experimenting in the last 50 years, concluding that the scalar waves move quicker than the speed of light. Or, to be more precise, information within scalar fields move quicker than the speed of light. Our logical conclusion was the first potential purpose of pyramid energy was the communication. So, the pyramids, communication devices.
Wow.
The second purpose, and you did mention that in your first question, you asked me just one question, and look how long I'm talking. So, you mentioned the healing aspect or health. You know, under the Bosnian Valley of Pyramids, 6 pyramids, we have huge network of underground tunnels. So far, we have discovered 6 entrances to those prehistorical tunnels. We cleared about 3.1 kilometers. That's a sensational discovery for itself. But we've noticed when people go to the tunnels, they breathe very well. And indeed, you go inside, oxygen level is excellent, but somehow you breathe better and better as you go deeper. People with respiratory problems, for example, asthma, they breathe so well, they got outside, they don't need inhalators, those air pumps no more. People with the high blood pressure, after one visit, it got normalized. People with the high sugar in the blood, you know, the sugar drops for 5, 6, 10 points. People with all kinds of pains, very often pains are gone. So people started talking about this, and people with the very serious diseases, tumors and so on, they come for a week, for 10 days. They go inside for 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, next day, and so on. They could see the revolutionary improvement of their health condition. And even though we always say we are not in a healing business, we don't give medical guarantees, but what we do, we film, we record those healing testimonials, and we have hundreds of them. So what's happening inside the tunnels? Obviously, the next purpose of the pyramid energy is to protect what is the most valuable to us, and that would be our health. And you see, Campbell, how now it becomes rather logical. Instead of pyramids being tombs for one dead body, now we have communication, long distances, we have health, and as you will see later, water and food and so on. So, you know, we've been measuring, trying to explain what's happening inside the tunnels. Combination of 9 elements, very brief. The first 5 is the absence of all harmful radiations. For example, you and I, we live on the surface of the planet. It's nice, it's romantic, but a lot of radiation coming from the cosmos. Some of them are harmful, and they attack our body. Our body cells fight those, harmful radiations. In the tunnels, 40 meters below the ground, no harmful radiations. In the tunnels, no natural radioactivity. What do we use to measure radioactivity? Geiger, Miller counters. We go, we measure, the values are tens of times lower than the minimum allowed. No radioactivity, no enemies for our bodies, no geopathogenic radiations, no signal for the mobile phones, no signal for the Wi-Fi. So absence of all harmful radiation. So what's happening inside? You get inside for the first time in your life, your body does not have enemies. So body cells can start doing their real job, and their job is to fix the problems, to start the regeneration process. Somebody has the high blood pressure, somebody has sugar, somebody has tumor, somebody has mental problems, regeneration process. And when you add 4 more elements that we measure, the best frequency of electromagnetic field, 28 kilohertz, the best frequency of ultrasound, 28 kilohertz, the best, very low frequency, 7.83 hertz. In science, it's called original Schumann resonance. And finally, number 9, high concentration of negative ions, like in my home, in the offices, concentrations are very low, 20, 30, 50. You go outside, it's fresher, 100 negative ions per cubic centimeter. You go to the mountains, 1,000. You go to Bosnian pyramid tunnels, between 20,000 and 200,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter, the highest on the planet. So imagine you combine those 9, energy features.
Good number.
You are having the safest and the healthiest place on the planet.
Wow.
And very shortly, before you ask me your second question, and be careful with your question, you see how long answers, it improves molecular structure of the water. The water has the beautiful hexagonal structure exposed to pyramid energy. It's structural water. it's high vibrating water. Number 4, food. Number 5, immunity. Number 6, auric field getting improved. Number 7, chakras, 7 of them. Coming back to the balance, they're opening up. Number 8, they clear the atmosphere. So, in conclusion, the pyramid energy and the Bosnian pyramids and the oldest and the original pyramids were used to improve our daily life, literally everything. So that's the revolutionary thinking. And that's one of the reasons why many archaeologists don't like me, why sites like Wikipedia, even National Geographic, even, Encyclopedia Britannica, they don't like me. They consider this project pseudo-archaeological. However, this is the most exciting project in the world of archaeology and the most open project because of all the volunteers, no secrets, no secrets. So I would say that I'm very proud to run this beautiful project.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, we're all very glad you got in and did it as well, because obviously, I'm sure it wasn't easy. So I'm guessing that's the most, what's the word, like the most studied pyramid at the moment. Like, have you?
It
Because
is.
we all know about Dr.
It is. Yes.
Zahawi or whatever, and
Yes, Dr. Zahi. The problem with other pyramid sites, they are exclusively archaeological projects. They want, by finding pieces of ceramics and primitive tools, to explain monumental Egyptian pyramids. It doesn't work that way. It has to be interdisciplinary scientific approach. You have to have, besides classical sciences like archaeology, Egyptology, geology, biology, and so on, you have to have high-tech methods. You have to have geophysical methods. You have to have engineers at the site. You have to have physicists at the site. Medical doctors to see if there are any, medical features. Once you have such different, open-minded approach, then you can realize what is the purpose of Egyptian pyramids, or Mexican pyramids, or Chinese pyramids, or Peruvian, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, those archaeologists, they jealously guard those sites. And that's the reason why they will never figure out the true purpose of their pyramids.
Well, but they can't admit that there was high tech in the past. That seems to be their big thing, that they just can't do that, can they? That everyone has to be primitive. It needed to be 10,000 people working for 20 years, all for the pharaoh or for God or whatever. But then they can't explain why it's, totally, centered on North and why and how they built it, and it's just crazy, isn't it? Like, what are your thoughts? Why do you think that archaeology is so protective of the information getting out?
You are absolutely right. I mean, you have such wonderful structures, pyramids, megalithic sites, and they are saying 10,000 or 30,000 years back. Neolithic man was trying to do. They falsified the dates. For example, for Egyptian pyramids, they are saying 4,500 years. Those pyramids were built Ice Age 12,000 years back. The oldest Mexican pyramids, more than 12,000 years. Peruvian, Chinese, even Chinese archaeologists in 1967 who found some clay tablets at the site with hieroglyphic writings, he said they were 12,500 years old. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, they are saying 11,600, but Dr. Klaus Schmidt, before he passed away, he told me 15 to 18,000. Machu Picchu, the first phase, more than 50,000. I mentioned Gunung Padang, 28,500. They don't want to change the narrative, which is telling us in Paleolithic times, until 12,000 years back, they were all primitive, societies. There were no civilizations and so on and so forth. They're saying everything started with the Sumerians 5,000-6,000 years back. It's wrong. I mean, this is just the last phase in humanity, but not only in humanity. So if they admit that those pyramids are 12,000, 15,000, 55,000, they will need to change the history books and what they've been telling us. And like you said, they're telling us before we were primitive, today we are the most technologically advanced. I wouldn't say so. We are reaching our peaks, but in the last 100,000 years, there were at least 5 civilizational cycluses, 5 of them. So history of humanity is not evolution, but cycle after cycle after cycle. So in order to justify Egyptian pyramids, they are saying 100,000 slaves were building them. What slaves? Even if we agree with the date, 4,500 years back, there were not 100,000 people total in Egypt, not to mention 100,000 slaves. But how can slave move? The biggest block in Khafre pyramid is 220 tons. It's made from granite, from Aswan. Aswan is 69 kilometers to the south from Giza Plateau. How did they move 220 tons? You know, when Japanese tried to make a replica of the whole trip, they cut a block of 2 tons in Aswan, 2 tons of granite. They built the replica of a wooden boat, like it was shown on the hieroglyphic symbols,
Yep.
and the boat sank 2 tons. So such a kind of boat, they could carry up to 1 ton. But how to explain 220 tons? No explanations. How did they, mount them so perfectly? No binding material between them. And they've been there for thousands of years, despite all the earthquakes and so on. So no real explanation. The only one is the most superior civilizations. They don't want to admit that. And if you had more superior civilization, what else did they know? What they know about our bodies, what they know about our souls, what they know about us being, our souls living forever. If people realize that we have such abilities to travel, to live, our soul living forever, and so on, then we would realize that we don't need to be afraid of death, of our body being physically dead. If our soul lives almost forever, no place for fear. No place for fear of losing the job, no place for fear of losing material stuff, no place of losing the loved ones. We become free. And if we become free, you and I and all these individuals around us, then the politicians and the elites, they will lose their ground.
Yep.
They won't be able to control us. They won't be able to manipulate with us. So you see how the history is actually a big danger for that. And I remember 5 years when the first anthropological genetical experiment started, by the independent institutions in 1990s, we realized that the same haplogroup was in Europe, Basques, 55,000 years, Northern Africa, Berbers, some tribes in Amazon, South America, and descendants of Mayans in Central America. So they are all 4 continents. What was missing? Something in the middle, distribution center, Atlantis. So now through genetical experiments, we realize, hey, it had to be that lost continents of Atlantis. And then the same haplogroup in India and Ecuador, meaning people were tens of thousands of years sailing between Asia and South America. So the idea that through the Bering Strait people came 10,000 years back, wrong. Tens of thousands of years people were traveling. Now everything is changing. So what happened back in early 2000s, National Geographic, funded by Westinghouse, owned by Rockefeller, they took over, all this anthropological genetics and explaining us migrations. They are telling us, no, forget tens of thousands of years. It was just 6,000, 7,000 years, blah, blah, blah. So you see how everything becomes politics. It's not science anymore. And I've been, facing that for years now. They don't care about science. They don't care about, we've done 28 dating, 28 radiocarbon dating, uranium thorium analysis. They don't care about that. They're saying it's impossible. This guy, Sam Osmanagic, he's pseudo-archaeology, don't listen to him. But the truth will resurface sooner or later.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and the thing about like all the technologies you mentioned from the Bosnian pyramid, that's all the stuff they make money off, right? Like that's the medical industry, the communications, and all this stuff that if we found out we didn't need their, you know, their cures for, then they lose all their power. So it's very interesting that, I mean, all they're doing is hiding our power, right? That we don't need them. That's really what they're hiding. Do you think they know? Like, what are your thoughts on these, you know, elite type people?
Of course they know.
They know
of
the
course
whole
they know.
lot.
Campbell, you mentioned two major industries, energy and health. When it comes to energy, again, our genius mind of Nikola Tesla, who was born just a couple of 100 kilometers from here to the west, he had such a noble goal. He wanted to give to the world clean energy, unlimited energy, and free energy. You know, when he was doing experiments with his Wardenclyffe Tower in the state of New York back in 1899, 1900, and so on, you know, he was financed by the billionaire J.P. Morgan.
Yeah.
And then after a few experiments, he was writing in his diary, I found a way to transport unlimited quantities of energy, thousands of horsepowers, between two planets, regardless of their distance. So basically, he found a way to transport the energy for free. He went to JP Morgan and he said, hey, listen, we have free energy transportation. We have free energy. And JP Morgan told him, well, how am I going to make money out of that? So he stopped financing him. And instead, what you have in the last 150 years, you have dirty industry, not clean, dirty, coal, oil, gas, nuclear, which contaminates, you know, from Chernobyl to Fukushima and back. That contaminates our planet. They are limited and they are very expensive. And this is how they can make money. And this is how you have elites. So 3,000 super billionaires, they owe more than 95% of the resources on this planet. Imagine that you have free energy. You would change everything. With free energy, no more oil, gas, no more dirty industries, no more, you know, those big tankers, no more refineries, no more petrochemical industry, no more plastic, no more auto industry as we have it today, no more, you know, pharmaceutical industry, no more additives for our food and water that poison our food and water. Everything changes. The social organization would become, you know, fair.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't want that. And when you take pharma, in last 100 and so many years, you know, they were using, you know, what they could not use in the oil and gas industry, and they developed pharmaceutical industry, and they, you know, they're in charge of medical faculties and hospitals, and they're saying the only scientific way is through the pharmaceutical product, which, by the way, they don't heal the cause, they simply cover the consequences. You had temperature, you take the pills, and your temperature dropped, but it did not heal the cause of that. So unfortunately, so many wrong things. And what's right, you know, plants, stuff like that, you know, it's illegal now in European Union. You cannot use plant-based product. You cannot use organic seeds. You cannot use, it's a shame. I mean, we come, you know, from this nature. We should be using natural product. I'm not saying we should not have hospitals. You need to have first aid. You break the bone, you need to have, you know, hospital. But we need to combine what's good and beneficial for us.
Yeah, and working on staying healthy rather than fixing disease. And it's interesting that, you know, I mean, they love to flip things, don't they? They tell us all these pyramids are about death when they're actually about the opposite, right? They're about life. and
Exactly. I mean, excellent conclusion. Why would somebody use millions of tons of materials, use elements of sacred geometry, use perfect orientation, use this for one dead body? Does not make sense. But once you realize that they built such a huge complexes to serve the community, to last thousands of years, it all makes sense.
It does. And of course, with all the energy, all the dirty energy they bring in, now they're blaming us for it, right? Now the world's about to implode. It's all our fault, right?
So it's our fault. It's our fault that we have the the cows and whatever producing CO2. I mean, what are you talking about? But it's really another fight for the power. Because if you have a cow, you have a few, animals, you can produce the food, you have your eggs, you have your little plants, you have your little vegetables, you have your little fruits, then, self-contained, you have your freedom.
Yep.
Once they take that away from you, you lose the freedom.
And we've seen that, with in the last couple of years with all, shortages in food and that, and everyone relying on shops, and then they have to go without because they can't supply their own. I mean, so that they have done a fairly good job. They've got us in a bit of a corner. So if these were communication devices, if we just go off that one, what do you think was going on? Like we're talking what 20,000 years sort of plus back. Do you think
30,000 actually? Yeah, it's 3,000. Radiocarbon dating 29,200. Well, that's a good question. Who did they communicate with?
Yeah.
Well, we have measured the orientation of this energy beam. At first, we thought it is like 90 degrees to the sky, but it is not. In the morning, this energy beam is moved a little bit to the east. And guess what? Our sun shows at east in the morning. At the noontime, 12 o'clock, this energy beam is oriented mostly to the south. And our sun is exactly south at the noontime. In the afternoon, energy beam southwest, in the evening, west. And that's exactly the path of our sun. What does that mean? Does it mean that this energy beam or our planet is communicating with the sun? Maybe. Does it mean that they use the sun as the cosmic gate to communicate with other solar systems? Maybe. And other galaxies? Maybe. It has to be proven, of course.
Yes.
But then pyramids are emitter or transmitter. But at the same time, the pyramids are antennas. They receive the information. So the movement of the information is two-way.
Yeah.
So we have two-way communication. And is it possible that we have some sort of the cosmic internet? It is possible. Copyright. If it is possible, does it mean that you had some cosmic civilizations in the distant past, tens of thousands of years, maybe millions of years back, going from one star system to another, establishing this type of communication? Well, it is possible. So I would say that we really deal with the very developed civilizations, very developed technology. When it comes to the sun is, of course, the major cosmic body in our solar system. Sun gives us the light. Sun gives us the warmth. It gives us life. But it seems that it also gives us information. You know how the last couple of decades, very popular movement was sun gazing.
Yes.
People were watching at the sun just before the sunset or early in the morning when it was not so strong. And really, you can watch it for a minute or a couple of minutes with no damage to your eyes. And I started doing that. And when you watch it, I mean, you feel such a pleasant vibration. You have some, very special feeling. And then I remembered that in some cases, especially of the Mayan civilization, they did not consider the sun the god and they were giving him sacrifice, they were sacrificed bodies. No, nothing like that. They considered the sun father, and they considered that they were receiving information from the sun. Before, I could not understand that. But the more I think that the Mayans knew something that we don't. What kind of information? There are some spiritual people talking about Akashic field, Akashic records, that there is a energy field around our planet, around the cosmic bodies, where all the information about the past and the present and the future are stored. Is it possible? I think it is possible. How is it possible that some people can see the past or they can see the future? Not many people, but people with the gifts. And it is, it can be verified. So I think there is something there. But by keeping us in dark, by keeping us limited to only our 5 physical senses, I think they don't enable us to explore other possibilities, the world of spirituality, not the religious world, but spirituality, that we have maybe some spiritual senses. Some people are saying we have 30 spiritual senses. We can feel the energy, we can travel through time, teleportation, a spiritual sense. We can communicate with the thoughts, telepathy, spiritual sense. We can see the energies. Probably we can. We have huge potentials, but we don't use them, and we don't have nobody to teach us that. And is it possible that even the pyramid energy could enable us to develop our spiritual senses? I think it is possible.
That's yeah, I agree. Totally. I mean, that's the first thing, when we go to school, right? They teach us our imagination. Get rid of your imagination, just sit and just repeat back to us what we want you to say.
Exactly.
With the Pyramid of the Sun, was that named because it tracks the sun? Is that how it got its name? Like the Bosnian?
When I came to the town of Isoko back in 2005, I climbed the top of the pyramid, and I could see geometry, I could see the perfect orientation. Across the valley, there was another, they call it hill because it was covered by trees, but I could see also triangular faces, I could see the flat top and perfect orientation of the sides. And what came to my mind was when pyramids come in pairs in Central and South America, they call them pyramids of the sun and the moon. And I was thinking, well, if I give that the same name, it'll be just one of the hundreds of pyramids of the sun. I said, let's put it Bosnian pyramid of the sun. There will be only one pyramid by such name. But then 6 months down the road, I realized why I named it the Bosnian pyramid of the sun and the moon across the valley. We were tracking the shadow of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun. That shadow is, of course, triangular because of the pyramid shape. And as our sun moves on horizon, the shadow moves in the valley of pyramids. And during the summertime, just before the sunset, the shadow completely covers the moon pyramid, and top of the shadow touching the top of the moon pyramid. So there is this relationship, astronomical relationship between the Bosnian pyramid of the sun and the Bosnian of the moon, astronomical feature. And then later on, many spiritual people started coming to our sites, and they would climb the top of the sun pyramid, and they would come to me. They said, wow, it's very strong energy. This is the male energy. This is the sun energy. Well, I was not so much into, spirituality at that time, but I was listening to all those people, male energy. They would go to the moon pyramid. They were saying, oh, it's such a soft energy. It's a female energy. It's about emotions. It's about, empathy and so on. But then when I was analyzing, my experience, the first year when I started excavation, that was on the Sun Pyramid, which is the biggest pyramid. At that time, all the world media were coming to the site. CNN came, we were breaking news for a couple of days. ABC, CBS, all from States, BBC from UK, ZDF from Germany and so on. I felt I was on the top of the world, with all this media attention, and this pyramid was like giving me this male energy, it is about self-confidence, it is about the strength, it's about the power. But then the Bosnian cultural establishment, archaeologists, geologists, and so on, what they did through the National Commission for the Monument, they proclaimed that the pyramid is protective zone. And I could not work there anymore because on the very top of the pyramid, there was a medieval fortress. And they said, because of that medieval fortress, we don't want you to, do any more digging. So I had to stop. I went to the moon pyramid, and then we started discovering beautiful terraces, pavements, and so on. And I was working there for a couple of years, but the atmosphere, the energy was different. It was, it was not so strong like before. It was not so powerful. It was like a female energy, emotions, stuff like that. So, after I was analyzing, my experience in those years, I realized, well, yes, I mean, it perfectly matched what they were telling me with the male and the female energy and the differences between them. But also I realized if you want to be perfectly balanced, you have to have both energies in yourself, male and female. Otherwise, if one energy prevails, for example, if male energy prevails, then it is not only about the power, it's about the control, it's about the manipulation. It has to be influenced by the female energy. And then living in balance, then you have proper, psychological and all other features.
Yeah, nice.
So
Wow.
that's the reason why I named them the Sun and the Moon Pyramid, even without knowing why I was naming them.
That's the
Probably
thing.
that was in my blood that really gave the proper names.
You knew it, yeah, because they're called the Sun and the Moon pyramids all over, like you said, all over the world.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, do you know, like, like, just say for like Central America, and there's a Sun pyramid at Teotihuacan, I think, is there?
Yes.
Was that named by the
Teotihuacan,
natives, or like was that an old name, or was that a new name?
Well, it's a really new name. It came from the last couple of 100 years. The major pyramid city in Mexico is called Teotihuacan.
Yeah.
It is about an hour and a half drive from the capital city of Mexico City. And 150 years back, they started excavation. At that time, the Sun Pyramid, they call it Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, and they have Pyramid of the Moon and Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl is a serpent.
Oh, it's a serpent.
So,
okay, and the dragon.
yes, so they started their excavation 150 years back. At that time, the pyramids were completely covered by soil, vegetation, forest, like in Bosnia. Why? Because there is a lot of rain. It's a different climate. In Egypt, it's a desert, sunny, no rain, no greenery. Peru, desert. But China, Bosnia, Mexico, Guatemala, a lot of rain. So our pyramids were covered by soil and vegetation. So they started uncovering, they exposed this beautiful pyramid.
All right, I am going to pause it there. The full episode, of course, available on Campbell's channel, Autodidactic, and the link in the live chat to watch the rest of that half hour with Campbell and Sam Osmanovich. And now I was going to go over some pictures that we have here of different mounds and pyramids of the world. And you see, like, they're literally everywhere. These mountains, these pyramids that they claim as mounds or natural formations. They try to claim them as, just primitive made, yet they're so advanced. It's absolutely mind-boggling how advanced these pyramids really are. The scope, the size of them. Like, look at these things. They're straight up mountains, and they've been covered by millennia of growth, wild growth, and some sort of catastrophe that happened that wiped out the original civilization that built all of these. And like Sam stated, excellent with the missing haplogroup of Atlantis in the middle of the Atlantic there, that it shows the evidence of these of the Atlanteans, the missing pyramid civilization builders. And the time that this would have been occupied, Isis temple in the Grand Canyon, and the whole Grand Canyon complex that has perfect alignment to the sky of the Orion constellation, as well as who would have built these guys, the indigenous Mayan and Native American glyphs of Alberta, which I will be finally going to here in June to explore, and that I also recommend everybody able to go to the Grand Canyon. You take a new look and new eyes with that because they're pyramids. They're everywhere. Our mountains, a lot of them happen to have these north, south, west, east alignments and more. And how much of our history is buried? What is buried? All of it. And what was with the cone-shaped people? And is that who's buried beneath these things? Oh, and of course, this is just brutal AI. So this is actually inside a pyramid, and the Aswan pyramid maybe, or the red pyramid, the blown up one on the Giza Plateau. But this right here, that is Photoshop. Don't be fooled. But this is real. Who carved these into the sides of or carved or built or what? Like it doesn't make sense. Like who lived in those, and what were people doing flying around back in the day? Because well, they all were, and we've been lied to over and over again. We can't build that. Like even like look at that, towering over the towers of modern day Cairo. Still, it's insane the size, and these are what's in the mountains around them. Same time periods. What's going on? Or just oh, that was a fake. This is real though, and this is some geopolymer most likely. They say red granite, but it's at the top of I believe in Peru, maybe Bolivia, and some of the old ruins up there. This supposedly found in Mexico under a pyramid. I don't know. Could also easily be a fake. Pyramidal structures around the world. They are everywhere. There was a worldwide and look at these. What is buried beneath these? All these conical mounds. That looks pretty pyramidal to me, I would say. And my money is on that being a pyramid. Just never ceases to amaze. And what are these? Pyramid mountains in Antarctica that need to be fully investigated as well. They're absolutely everywhere. Megalithic world, the lost ruins, the lost civilization of pyramid builders. And literally everywhere. And what, right back at this, what is this shape of Antarctica? And what was going on at that civilization time? Was this also going on? I suspect so. All right, so let's see. We also have the Ferram Foundation. I promised to share and go over a bit right here. The Ferram Foundation, putting it in the live chat for everybody because this research is top notch. Make sure you go to this website, bookmark it, and do your own investigations on it. But look, like right here, Yanaguni Pyramid, Bosnian Pyramid, the Indonesian pyramids, and of course the Badland Guardians, which I will be going to explore very soon, finally in June. And we are looking forward to this one. It's going to be one heck of a good time confirming the geoglyphology science and macro terraforming of these sites. and I can't wait to get there and find these earthenworks. Anywho, that ties in with the Bosnian pyramids that the Ferrum Foundation also has done work on, and the work they've found is just unbelievably complex. With the orientation of the Pyramid of the Sun, the dating that this dating that Arthur Ferrum has come up with, it's a little bit earlier than what Sam Osmanovich has since gotten through the carbon dating of the organic material that they excavated within the tunnels of the pyramids. But the fact being that Arthur Ferrum came up with these dates by fitting them into when the geoglyphs of these pyramids first started appearing in other ancient geoglyphology sites that he had found around the world. And that's how he dates the different systems and when they went extinct and when they were created, when they start being built. And that he's found, for instance, on the Bosnian pyramid, that the geoglyphology, the angles of the faces and the sides of the different Bosnian pyramids perfectly map out to these exact places with his geoglyphology mathematics system, and that the same radials, and that he's found this other spot that was destroyed, that where there should have been these ancient geoglyphs. And then that now there's these other geoglyphs that from adding in the 4 cardinal points of the compass. Now from the Pyramid of the Sun, you get 4 more specific sites. The specific southern border of Russia is built into the cardinal point, one of the cardinal point tips, corners of this Bosnian pyramid right here. Like, just absolutely astounding. And then the other Bosnian pyramid of the moon and of the earth here, also taking into consideration or mapping their angles of the sides, getting more specific locations across the topographical maps here, which is just next level work that you can see here, so that the actual sides, angles, corners, everything of the pyramids, of the Bosnian pyramids, completely built for a giant map of all of these locations of this territory. And that not just that, when you take the 3 pyramids together and you get this perfect equilateral triangle, and then apply the same radial geoglyphology system to that and the angles of them, you get another 6 specific sites out of it, and an even bigger map of the overall locations that have been plotted out in the actual archaeology of the initial pyramids of Bosnia. And now he's also showing here that Old City Moscow, so these star cities, these citadel cities, the old cities also incorporate this radial system from the center points. And that, for instance, Moscow, Old City Moscow, using the geoglyph radial mathematics system, plots out to current day Russia's entire border system, as well as the borders of Sweden and Norway, and just mind blown every time, right? But here's where it gets even further, where Sam was talking about the Bosnian government denying him working rights because of these old bastion forts that were built on top of the pyramids, okay? That these bastion forts, aka, you know, the old world cities, these old star cities, bastion cities, okay, these star forts, also use this geoglyphology mathematics in their structure and their archaeology and the angles of it and the macro building of it. And that sure enough, that this star fort, that the remains of it on top of the pyramid of the sun, plots out to these new radial specific boundaries of Europe. It's just insane. And then here's the other star fort that is on top of the moon pyramid and its geoglyphs, all these other more specific spots just plotted out everywhere. And that is the territory. Look at that. Oh, the EU is trying to include Ukraine in it. Wow. Look at that. And that's the ruins of these star forts from a couple hundred years ago, and also the territory of the original sides and angles of the pyramid built in, as well as this equilateral triangle of the radials also included in the construction of these Bosnian pyramids. So, if you still believe that the Bosnian pyramids are natural, that's not the work of Sam Osvanovich I've showed you here. This is the work of Arthur Farham and the Farham Foundation. Completely separate sources, completely separate methods of confirming and researching and showing the super advanced construction, engineering, and building and encoding of these ancient megastructures, these macro technologies. And that it's also built into the Yonaguni pyramid, the one that is off the southern tip of Japanese island of Yonaguni, east of Taiwan. And that this 400-foot underwater pyramid, aka before the Younger Dryas, it would have existed. Well, all of its different specific angles, the purposes of them, well, it's actually also to map these geoglyph angles and radials of geoglyphology, which also then maps out to this specific territory, the exact same territory that the Empire of Japan controlled at the height of their Empire of World War II. So if, how does this right here, pyramid under the ocean of Japan's southern tip, map out the exact same territory as what Japan included at the height of World War II? Kaboom! Mind blown. All right, so pyramids, geoglyphology, and geoglyphs in general, they're much more advanced. It's macro terraforming. All right, this is from the sky. That's an oil derrick. This is a road. I'm going there. This is the Medicine Hat Badlands in Alberta, and it literally shows the heads and representations of all the indigenous people of North and South America, the Americas of this time, the Olmecs, the Aztecs, the Western Plains natives, and the Dragonhead as well. And that they have these geoglyphs as well, these earthenworks, these angles, these distances. And that's what I'm going to be going to measure, map out with my drone, actually find these lines and show that they're there. This earthenworks macro forming is real, and that there are a bunch of faces built into Alberta's Badlands that map out to these specific locations around the world, that then also plot out to here we go, this map right here from Hawaii to Giza to Mexico City and to the tip of Greenland. It's all included. That was the territory all mapped out in the boundaries of the main geoglyphs of the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians. And I'm going to be so stoked to try to find some mounds and some pyramids while I'm out there as well, looking at this site. and these 5 different geoglyph sites. Try to find some petroglyphs as well. Also, we'll explore this guy here. And yeah, so also the Indonesian pyramids. Boom, look at that. Is that a mountain? Is that a mound? Yeah, no, that is a pyramid mountain. And once again, in Indonesia, look at all the terracing of it, right? And how close does that resemble this? Oh, pretty close. Pyramidal mountains, ancient rune civilizations. And here we go, this site map of in these Lakota pyramid right here, its location, once again these angles of it, and then boom, plotted out, and you have these radials again giving you these specific Galapagos Islands, tip of Baja, southern tip of South America, Luxor, Egypt, built into the side of this pyramid mountain. Whoa, how? Look at that. From all around the world, these pyramids connect. Here's the Sandur Pyramid, Garut, Indonesia. Its exact location. Boom. Terraced. Look at that. Each of these angles plotted out gives you tip of Yucatan Peninsula, northwest corner of North American territory, Cape Hatteras, eastern point of North American territory. This is from Indonesia, okay? This is a mountain pyramid in Indonesia, plotting out to all of those spots. Southern tip of Peru, Panama meets Colombia. Look at that, right? Just boom, mind blown all over again. So one last time, you guys and gals and everybody in between can check that out for your own right here. Live chat link, Faram Foundation, Indonesian pyramids, and ta-da, we will end with that. We have 62 apparently watching between everyone of the channels. I think that's awfully low. I don't know. Now it says 60. Darn you. Darn you. Internet censorship. Look at all that hydrogen being produced. They just Guan Pandang. That's another one in Indonesia. Yes, I want to check that one out too. Shout out Graham Hancock and everything he's done for Guan Pandang. Oh, yeah, that's yes. And then oh, that's just getting all sorts of bubbly in there now. The exclusion zone has kind of filled out. Oh, hello. Good morning. Welcome, Bree. Hello. Hey, Calax? Yes, up early or up late. Yeah, I need to get to bed. Get my nap in for the day. All right. So on that note, I should probably call it a day and get my ass to bed, but I can't quite yet because here's a little Brucey bonus for all of you still here with me right now. What else do we got? We have what looks like one heck of a machine, not a burial chamber, definitely nothing for bodies. Oh, look at that. Those are high-tech pyramids, fractal pyramids. Who wants to explain that? They cut it out of, yeah, I don't know. See, I see like electricity and plasma and magnetism in those. I don't know. Yes. Yes, my giant sire king. Whatever you wish. All buried in the sand and underwater these days. It's a disgrace what they have done. But we need to find the truth and dig them out and get it exposed. Find out. Ooh, No, thank you, flesh-eating disease while anywhere. Sketchy. Look at that. Like, that's instructions on how to run the machine. Like, and that's an office. Look, they're all on like their little typewriters and stuff, like do or computers or whatever the heck. Like, they're stations, they're workstations. That's what I meant to say. And look at the larger astrological sites. More pyramids. Pyramids everywhere. Who was this guy? He was a boss. That's King Kong. Or that's Donkey Kong. He's the head and the barrel. All right. The boulder, I guess. Why are they all headless? What a shame. That looks vitrified-ish. That looks like she'll vitrify you. Just so next level. Many levels in a pyramid. All right. Okay. So on that note, it's time for this guy to head to bed. If anybody out there wants to try sending me $1 through PayPal, it would be appreciated because supposedly the link doesn't work or something. I haven't received anything through PayPal in several weeks now, so I don't know if I'm blocked on PayPal now. It really sucks. So I don't know, but it would be good to get confirmed that it's not working. And yeah, on that note, what time tonight, Simon Claret, brother? I've got to help my mom move a bit, so I would say 8 p.m. my time, 10 p.m. your time. Yeah, and that would be 7 p.m. Pacific. Probably 8:30, 10:30 Eastern. I'm not sure. I'll try for sooner, but I got to get some rest and go help my mom. So we will see you all tonight. I can't get Cash App because I'm in Canada. They don't allow it. It's fucked. But I'm going to see if maybe I can get a VPN that allows me to get Cash App. I'm not sure. I'm going to try. And on that note, love you all. We'll see you tonight. Well, on Free Sunshine's note, when I go explore the Badlands, I ain't staying in no motel. We'll be camping after tonight. On that note, see you all. Ta-ta.